Up, people. Good morning. Good morning. How are we all doing? Welcome in. Welcomes. We're on the beta today. Straight into the beta. No messing. Absolutely no messing this morning. We're going to get straight to business. How's everybody doing? It is Tuesday. Still very chilly. Coffee is needed this morning though, mind. Hot brown water of life. Yes. My plan for today, and in the foreseeable future until midnight launches, is to spend an awful lot of time tinkering on the beta now. We're into that point in the season where the reality is I just have to assume that what we have right now is mostly what we're going to get. There's going to be a beta build, I would imagine, at some point this week, which we can only cross our fingers will fix a bunch of stuff, but I can't imagine after that one build we'll see basically anything, because you've got to imagine Blizzard are a couple of builds ahead of what we get to see on the PTR, or on the beta, sorry, meaning the build we get, or the next build we see is the next build we see has got to be pretty damn close to an actual solid release candidate build, which is going to be scary because Inscription's still broken, blacksmithing leveling is still broken, a lot of materials don't feel balanced, there is some absolutely weird and wacky things going on with some sorts of materials. Oh my god, there's just like all sorts of craziness going on that desperately needs to be fixed. But we can hope and we can pray. I'm of the opinion though, if we get the next beta build, I'm going to consider that release candidate. I'm going to consider whatever we get in the next build as how we're going to have to prepare to play the game with. If stuff is broken, we just have to prepare for chaos. I think we're in that mode. Chaos could happen and we're going to have to just, assume it's just the mechanic of the game, I forgot I had the tab open, suddenly started talking. That is what we do. When's the release again? In a month? End of this month. We're like literally a matter of weeks away at this point. End of the month. Early access kicks off on, what, 27th? 28th? Can't remember the exact date. Minus 26 outside, yeah, literally my hands are just like, no amount of moisturizer is keeping my hands from being just completely crispy at the moment. They're horrible. I hate it. When it's this cold for this long, your skin just goes and nothing, it's just game over. Right, I want to look at blacksmithing this morning though. I don't think blacksmithing has many options for like builds and cooldowny sort of related stuff. In fact, I know for a fact it doesn't. Nipsu, hey, get down. Barking at the neighbours. Blacksmith has very few options, I think. Alloys or maybe alloys. That's probably it. Clip that sound? What, the dog going bananas? Alma. No, don't you start. There's a window to like behind the sofa here, and they stand at the window and they do their hellos to the neighbours as they walk past. Once again, all chill. The slurp sound I made? What slurp sound? Oh, the skin. You're weird. That's the new sub sound. You people, my god. Right. Yeah, blacksmithing doesn't have a huge amount of options, does it? I'm pretty sure of it. It's going to be interesting to test if they actually fix the blacksmithing leveling path as well, because that's been proper cooked the last, forever. Quick glance at what we have. What did my notes say about potentially good concentration-y stuff? Yeah, alloys. Literally alloys. That's literally it. The likelihood of using concentration on these is absolutely zero, especially with how easy we've realized it is to get high quality copper. 55 skill to get high quality copper is just absolute jokes. Which means there is going to be arguably not like if high quality copper ends up being so goddamn easy to get that it'll be real damn cheap. There's a weird weird theory that you might prospectors might be oh, I don't know. My brain, it's too early for thinking. It's too early for thinking. These you're unlikely to do anything with concentration. There's just not any materials in here. Even alloys is a like real skinny candidate for any form of concentration. Real skinny. But the fact that blacksmithing doesn't have anything else means your options is just such, isn't it? The interesting thing is you're going to need at least a bit of skill in your profession. Not a huge amount, but enough to get these. 25, 15, unlock a few bits. Yeah. My apartment is a little above the main street in my city. Balto. Nice name. Loves standing near the window and looking down at the people who wander by. Of course, he gets excited every time he sees another dog. Yeah. Yeah, dogs will do that. My trio love sitting and just watching the world go past. They love just watching the world go past. Right. Let me grab this. Right, the stat to stack is going to be multi-craft. Imagine here, unless blacksmithing has the ability to... Unless blacksmithing has the ability to get ingenuity above 70%, we're stacking multi-craft. And we probably only need skill 25. That is unless we need to unlock more specialization trees. Which I also don't think we do. Where's our blacksmithing leveling? Doing most of this screen, can't I? This bit I do need to do off screen. Hang on. No, why is me text green? Okay. Blacksmithing is heavily... Yeah. There's no. One thing I had noticed with blacksmithing is there's like no love for the profession at all. It's like just so bland, so bland. Oh yeah, Flux is a vendor mat, isn't it? At least there's the advantage there's no moats in the alloys. You'll need to level your profession to 25 skill to unlock both. Right, so let's do exactly that. Let's get blacksmithing to skill 25, which at the moment consists of... Let's see if this has changed in any way. Make a few copper ingots. Oh yeah. Make a few ingots and then craft blood tempers greaves until you win. And then hammers until you win. Yeah, really dumb. Dumb.
Hey, how you doing?
Sorry, I'm coughing all over the place. Cold weather outside. I actually wish I'd just get ill and get it out the way. I don't feel as if I am ill, but I know that I should probably just be ill for a few days, so then it's done for midnight. I know it's weird to wish ill on yourself, but it feels almost necessary just to get it out of the way. Blacksmithing. There we go.
Ancestors watch over you.
We got in here. Actually, I'm gonna need some boxes of Roxes, aren't I? Basic Q1 mats.
Walk with the earth, mother.
Did that give me some quality 1 stuff? It did. Yeah, good. Flux. Why does Flux not come in the blacksmithing bag? That wasn't well prepared, was it? Where's Flux? Hello. There we go.
Pleasure doing business with ya.
The winds guide you. May the eternal sun shine upon thee.
Right, so we level a handful of these. 4 of these to get to skill 5. Triple dose of vitamin D, buy some zinc. It's probably not a bad idea. You don't actually need to learn those recipes even if you don't want to. Blood tempered greaves. Now my path says craft about a shitload of these. Right, let's get to 25 with these then. Gloaming alloy at 15. Still going. Boom, 25. There we go. Let's at least have another little looky, see if there's anything else that's concentration value. I mean, there can't be, can there? There's nothing really that people are gonna, you know, nothing really else here that you could possibly even think of using concentration on. Um, 186 concentration in order to make a copper ingot. Concentration. There's not even any variance in that, like, the maths here or anything, is there? Because it's literally just base materials makes 1. Literally no variancy or, like, not even a sniff of something to, like, twist the price on these a little bit. But at skill 25, you're going to go into probably the old ways, right? And then alloys. But is this just giving you skill? There's arguably no reason to even go here. 10 skill, 10 skill, 10 skill, 10 skill. What's the base node do? Just give skill. The issue's likely to be is that concentration isn't going to have any value here at all when producing alloys is so goddamn easy anyway. There might literally be 0 for you to spend concentration on in blacksmithing. Points in multicraft is more useful to you than probably more useful to you than putting points in alloys. $187. Okay. We can put some estimated materials needed here. Estimated materials is the cost of making 4 alloys. 25... 20 copper. $20 copper, 8 luminant flux. Then, however, how many of these did we make? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. Oh, well, that's a nice, easy round number, isn't it? 10 of these. So 20 more flux. That's so 28 flux in total. And then 20 copper ingots. I don't see there's going to be really any value in this. Because I'm not sure how much profit is going to be made on making these alloys with concentration at all. Concentration for crafting rank 5 tools and gear. Well, yeah, that literally is it. That literally is it. But for something, you know, that's not, how would you say this? That's not indicative of what a normal concentration build is. You can't put that on a bunch of alts and you can't cycle that. That is more on how concentration can be utilized on a main blacksmithing crafter that's doing something. for the Conc army style builds, you're not going to be fishing out work orders. But yes, you're right. I actually wrote in my Goblin Guide to Midnight that I feel that concentration is more of a safety blanket for professions now in Midnight. In terms of that, it allows people to have, to have some shortcomings somewhere, right? It allows players to have maybe not this bar filled, maybe a bit of, lack of tools and stuff going up here, but they can still do the thing they want to do. They're just going to have to use a varying amount of concentration to do it until they fix those shortcomings. I kind of have a sneaky suspicion that that was kind of the design of concentration anyway. I'm not really sure Blizzard totally intended it to be like an alt army dominating goal-making endeavor. It's just that people figured out that, well, hang on, we can utilize this and actually make enough profit to make it worthwhile. But it really does feel as if it's being pushed more into the category of, right, this is your get out of jail free card for when you're not quite able to do the thing you want to do, but you still want to do it. But you don't, you obviously don't have that many get out of jail free uses, But I do think, yes, that if you are leveling a blacksmith, you are going the route of crafting gear for people. It will probably be utilized in a way that lets you make gear at a reasonable, if you can push to be able to guarantee quality 4, then at least you can use concentration to craft those things at quality 5, should the person be willing to tip sufficiently. If they're not willing to tip sufficiently, you'll have to explain to them that they can only get their craft at quality 4 for now. And if they choose to go find another crafter, they choose to go find another crafter. But yeah, in terms of just like throwing up a build on a character, I'm not convinced this is going to really bring much value in at all, but we'll see. It's at least still worthwhile working out what you might want to do, and all the more focusing on doing the absolute bare minimum to achieve whatever it is you want to achieve. .25 skill. This. The chance for this to... Okay. This will be profitable. Here's the question. Will it even actually be... See, this is the thing, right? Will it even be profitable? Because when we have already assessed that low quality... Sorry, refulgent copper ingots at high quality are not going to be that challenging to craft in the first place, with copper being so easily available at high quality. You're really just gambling on the value of 6 pieces of ore, which for 187 concentration is going to give you a gold value per concentration of probably less than 1. This is going to feel like tailoring level profitable. Which begs the question, does the price of even leveling your profession up in the first place counteract the value of doing this? But Yeah, like the war within level sort of tailoring concentration. Very weak. Gold. Your advanced build. You're probably not going to need to do half of this, but a lot of it is similar. This is when you've already covered the cost of leveling and want to spend a little bit more time increasing your profits. Add quality 5 uncommon professional tools and accessories. Full multi-craft. Tool with multi-craft enchant. Collect your 8 treasures. Renown book. Who does the renown book for blacksmithing? Who's the blacksmithing renown book? How do I even see that these days? You got to get renown 9 with the singularity for blacksmithing. Ooh, gross. Who else has this? Blacksmithing, engineering, alchemy. You wrote probably a very good goal per concentration. Wait, did I? Oh, yeah. Good spot, thank you. Renown 9 with a singularity for 10 points. Collect some extra knowledge points for the first time craft. Right, I need some quality 5 uncommon blacksmithing profession tools and accessories. And then I need to spend 24. I've got 34 knowledge points to spend, plus whatever can be obtained by first time crafts. Sandbagging the own guy. Now 9 grind is probably the only sprint going. I think, well, I mean, from what I've seen, campaign and, you know, a few side quests here or there should get it done, really. And it's another one of those, right? You got all the time in the world to do it, right? You got like basically 3 weeks to do it. So, all the time. All the time. Where would you spend points if you do, though? 40 points in this is going to give you multi-craft, ingenuity, and resourcefulness. How many points did I say we're likely to have easy access to? Profession treasures by flying around. 10 points from the knowledge. 10 points from... Wait, on the enchanting one, did I quote the fact you can get knowledge point books from... No, I didn't. For enchanting, you can always get the abundance knowledge book as well. There's another 10. You already had more knowledge points than you needed with enchanting anyway. Because you just basically flat out ignore skill these days. Means you need way less knowledge points. 40 in here would be nice. 20 in here would be nice. 60 points would be nice. That's just going to give you the most amount of multi-craft you can possibly get your hands on, really, isn't it? Ingenuity, 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 ingenuity. Wow, really boring. Boring but easy. Boring but easy. When do we start getting sparks? When the season starts? I don't know. You usually get a spark. You can usually get a... You've also got to remember they've slightly changed sparks. There's no fractured sparks this time. So you just get, to my understanding, you get 1 spark every week. And you need 2 sparks to craft a piece of gear. 4 sparks to craft a 2-hander. You'll probably get your first spark. Well, my point is it doesn't matter really when you get the first. It's more important when you get the second. Because you still won't be able to craft anything when you do get your first spark. I would imagine it will be on the season launch. Or maybe the first vault where you'll get your first spark. I don't know. Either way, there's a huge delay before sparks will happen. So anybody going the actual gear crafting route has got all the time in the world to get their professions ready. All the time in the world. Hopefully blacksmiths aren't going to have the similar NPC work order cost us in the War Within. They won't, no. They won't, because nullstones and... what was it called? Tinderboxes aren't really going to be... You know... as impact. That's because it made sanctified alloys like flipping uber duper mega expensive, didn't it? Because both tinderboxes and nullstones were like omega expensive. There's nothing really of the equivalent to make. You know, there's nothing that's going to make these alloys super duper mega expensive, unless they like swoop in last minute and slam like 15 dazzling thorium on them or something. But, you know, there's nothing here that's going to make any of these expensive, which means there's really nothing that's going to make the rest of the stuff expensive either. It almost seems like a knee-jerk. They've swung the pendulum in the other way, I think. Blacksmithing will end up being really cheap. Because the base materials here, the alloys, are not going to be that costly. We figured out yesterday that copper at high quality is a bit of a meme. You only need 55 skill in mining before you start getting high quality copper, which is so easy. Like, I really hope they do go in and change that or tweak that. But if they don't, that's going to mean that both normal and high quality copper is like abundant. That you won't even need to spec into being good at getting copper for you to frequently get high quality copper. So you can put your mining into like full moat builds and still get high quality copper on the regular. There's going to be no shortage of that stuff. Literally zero barrier to entry for mining to get high quality copper. It's actually a bit gross. But the advanced build would want to stack as much multi-craft on these crafts as possible. As much multi-craft as possible. 50% is the best you can ever do, I think, for blacksmithing full stop. I don't think you can ever do any better than that. Don't need anything anywhere over here. Nope. Armorsmithing, weaponsmithing. No, it's literally just the old ways profession. And then 60 points. 60 knowledge points. Where actually grants us the most multi-craft? 10, 20, 30, 40, 50. Plus you're getting 1 in each one. 50, that's 70 points of multi-craft by filling the tree. So you want a max prolific worker and then any spare extra points in the old ways. Oh, the big one at the end is 10 of everything. Best way to make gold with blacksmithing is not to do copper concentration without any leveling profession tools. Costs 188 concentration to make rank 2. Yes. Yeah. Basically, yeah. You want to fill prolific worker. Oh, hello, I didn't bother. Points.
What brings you here? Ancestors watch over you. Ah, I have just the thing for you.
20 points in there. I mean, you get 24 points just from flying around picking up the treasures. But you should be able to get another 10 points on top of that. Plus your first time crafts. Which, you really wanted to harvest the first time crafts, you could craft one of every one of these. Which is 24, 34, then first time crafts, which is gonna be 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, 20, 21, 22, 23, 24, 25. So there's about 25 points available. First time crafts as well. 50. We should give you 60 points. Should give you 60 points, so it should give you the ability to fill all of those. Are we really going to spend 75 Moxie and 750 Mile on each concentration alt for an extra 10 knowledge points? Not if you don't want to. This is why, for my concentration builds, I'm structuring it like this. I'm giving people the basic build that will get you up and running, and then I'm giving you the advanced build, which is for when you have already covered the cost of your leveling, or you want to spend a little bit more time increasing your profits. You can do these things. Some of them will cost you only time. Some of them will cost you a little bit of gold to do. Your concentration alts aren't really going to have any other use for the Moxie, so it's not a big deal. And 750 Mile, yeah, I get 750 Mile at the very beginning is a bit of a stretch. But, you know, it's another time thing. Fly around and pick up some treasures. It's maybe, 20 minutes or something. And of course, because it's Warbound transferable, you're going to be doing that on your main characters anyway. It's not actually going to be of cost to you. It's going to take a bit of time to farm up the Marl, but you can be doing that just through natural play. So it's kind of up to you if you go that route or not. But 60 points there is then going to boost your multi-craft up to 12% before we get the tools and the accessories in. I need a green multi-craft tool. Hang on, don't we make those ourselves? We make these ourselves. Annoyingly, I can't make it myself at top quality. Hang on. I'll have to put it in order.
Feel free to browse.
Oh, I need to put a missive in there.
Till next we meet.
Otherwise I'm going to get the wrong one. Where do I buy the missives from? I think they're from you, aren't they?
Interesting.
Missive of Multicraft. Yoink.
Be careful out there.
Ishnu Allah. Be careful.
Blacksmithing tool is weird. It still gives skill further than the blue tool. Oh dear. So many weird and wacky things that they're gonna have to like smooth out. Otherwise, like there's gonna be some real oddities going on. Some real oddities. Oh, I don't need to go to you, do I? It seems to only give 8 skill now.
May the stars guide you.
Or is it that the rare one is... where's he gone? What was that search function? Eight, 18. By the epic one. 18. Oh, this seems to have fixed it. There was a lot of subtle under the hood fixes in the last beta build. Hammer will show up every recipe also because it needs the hammer to craft it. Ah, yeah. You need this. Yeah. Yeah, you're right. Wrong search term. Yeah, you're right. Genius. Right, there's our tool. We should slam an enchant on it.
I have exactly what you need. Watch
No.
your back.
You?
Need something?
Enchant tool multigraph.
The dunes have everything we need.
And in theory, one of these accessories gives multicraft as well, doesn't it? Who makes these? Oh, we make these as well. The one we make, the blacksmith toolbox, only gives resourcefulness and crafting speed, which we don't really care about. The smith's apron, though, on the other hand, made by leatherworking. Do one of those as well.
Elune light your path.
Where's my full build tunes? Good morning, Mr. Loot Fever. How we doing? Welcome in. Welcome, welcome. Do all of this just to get my screenshots to look accurate. Right. That's going to give us then up to 25% multicraft chance. Meaning you should proc multicraft. Now, with this slightly more advanced build with a few knowledge points spent, you should, in theory, mathematically, proc multicraft on at least one of your crafts. You can hit the button 5 times, which simple maths determines that you should proc multicraft at least once, which will almost double the amount of alloys you get from the basic build. The same amount of concentration. You don't need the third profession accessory because it doesn't have any multicraft on it, and we don't care about anything else really. The resourcefulness and the crafting speed nobody cares about. Technically, because you put 40 points in these, you can unlock these sub-specs even though you don't put any points in them. So you might as well have the learn the ability button. Which will give you 25% multicraft, 11% ingenuity, and 8% resourcefulness. You also unlock the finishing reagent slot, meaning given the opportunity, you can slam in a multicraft manifold as well.
Time is money, friend.
Although those do only turn up via... These do only turn up via doing patron orders, so you might not get your hands on many of those as a concentration character. But one of those would put you up to 33% multicraft. Oh, hang on, let's... When you've already covered the cost of leveling or want to spend a little bit more time increasing your profits... Grab a screen grab of that window. Highlighting that we've added these. A multicraft on the go. The option to finishing reagents. These additions will now... I need to take a screen grab of here. Placing 20 points in, what's this node called? Node called Prolific Worker. These additions will boost your multi-craft up to around 25%. This means you should expect to almost double. You're going to almost double. Multi-craft can roll between 1 and 4, can't it? Being marked as a guide is so funny. Sometimes 14 players have joined in the last 10 minutes. Well, thanks, Blizz. Let me just welcome bots to Azeroth. Oh, you actually, oh, you're one of those kind souls that try and help all the newbies out. Wow. Well, welcome bots to Azeroth, yeah. That's another one of those thankless tasks that you wouldn't get me going anywhere near. I can't be doing with the customer service of flipping work orders with professions, never mind helping brand new players to figure out what WASD does. Kind soul, bot reporter, potato, potato. Oh, okay, sure. Same difference. These additions will boost your multi-craft to around 25%. This means you should expect to hit a multi-craft at least once per 1,000 concentration. The final profession accessory is not really needed, as it only provides res. Where's the and button gone? And crafting speed. Yeah, I do want a final notes section on the blacksmithing one, just because it's not so clear, is it, that oh, I can't type today. Blacksmithing is very much a gear crafting profession. For this reason, it is often better to save your concentration for completing work orders or patron orders that you otherwise would not be able to. This will be profitable. Early in season 1. There we go. That's not how you spell stable. Ah, it's telling me to use American. Stupid Google. Sorry, Team America. It annoys me. Don't put Z's in the middle of words. Z's. Okay, yeah, so I don't think blacksmithing really has super duper mega lucrative concentration anything. Because your only other even possible potential is the waystones and whetstones. But these, in my opinion, suffer even more based upon the fact that they only use copper ingots and they're only using dusk-shrouded stone, a material that I categorically know for a fact is going to be basically free as soon as prospectors start fishing for diamonds. There's significantly higher amount of this produced than can ever be consumed anywhere ever in the game. There's no sink for this stone. I've even suggested that Dawn Crafters use like way more of this for crushing, otherwise it's just not going nowhere. So these aren't going to be... Let's also not forget that these use like a flipping null stone in the War Within, which they don't this time round. So these are going to be basically free. It does mean that if there is anything else competing for the same buff slot, it's going to be hard to beat. I don't think there is. There's this one, the Refulgent Razor Stone. It's the same scenario again. You're not going to use concentration on crafting these. Simply on the basis of that they're just going to be too cheap to make anyway. Weapon oil's better. There might be an interesting choice then. If the weapon oil is mathematically better, but these end up being cheaper, that presents a good two options for people, doesn't it? The market tends to go in one of two directions. People go to the auction house and they want the cheapest thing that is considered a buff, so their raid leader is off their ass, or they want the best. Like, cheapest or best is what people want. Now, if a different profession serves those people, it's all good. It's all good. They'll both still sell. But yes, there is the. I mean, these are at least interesting, and these will be consumed pretty heavily. But 3 copper ingots is what, 15 copper ore. The value of 15 copper ore plus or minus resourcefulness procs. 15 copper ore is the price of one of these. 43 stats for 2 hours as opposed to 57. You know, when it comes to herbing and mining, you can either stack up all of the buffs and you can pay a premium for the top tier buffs, or you can just spend an extra 10 minutes doing it. You know, the reality of the buffs is, it's nothing more than a personal yield improvement. You're not competing on profit margins per se when you're gathering stuff. So like the likelihood of people spending a premium on these, I mean, people will because people do, but most gatherers will just use the basic cheap ones because 15 pieces of copper and a couple of vendor materials. These normal quality ones will be, you know, pennies, 100 gold, something like that. Probably not even. By the time crafters stack up their multi-craft on these things as well, these will be less than 100 gold a piece. Right, okay. That is as far as I think I need to explore concentration on a blacksmith. For the basis of that, I don't think there's any real further optimization. It's so funny that we're optimizing to make alloys and we're choosing to not put a single point in alloys. because it's just the wrong choice. The only reason you put points into alloys is if you actually try and get to the point where you mass produce them. But choosing to mass produce them requires you to fill this bar and fill all of this business up here as well. So from a purely concentration perspective, you don't put any points in alloys. It's funny. Kind of funny. And you could use this same build in theory to skill up to, what is it, 45, to then have the Refulgent Razor Stone as an option as well in case it just ends up being better. Maybe that's maybe that's a worthy addition to the final notes. At skill 45, you also what is it you want? Refulgent Razor Stone. It's because I've got a flipping mug of coffee in front of me, I can't type. You also unlock the Refulgent Razor Stone. Okay. Right, I think blacksmithing is mostly done. Didn't make any notes about the use of the finishing reagents, but I'm going to go as far as to say I'm going to assume pretty strongly that people won't have these. Because your concentration alts aren't going to be doing patron orders, because why the fuck would you? It's just extra time spent playing on a character where your goal is to minimize your time spent, not spend more, so that's probably it. Pick a profession, boys and girls. Pick a profession that's not jewel crafting, enchanting, tailoring, or blacksmithing. So we got leatherworking, alchemy, inscription. Probably don't pick inscription because it's broken, or engineering. Scribblers. Scribblers is still really broken. I'm hoping that this next build comes in and fix scribbling. Alchemy, archaeology, you fucking jokers. I saw Elon running around doing archaeology the other day. I nearly wet myself. He was trying to get the Vial of the Sands recipe, bless him. I had to like rack my brain to like try and remember what the way to do that was. Yeah, good old archaeology. We'll do some alchemy then. Alchemy builds are an interesting one actually, because alchemy is going to be funny because you need nothing. You need absolutely nothing. What you need for alchemy is get the recipe. You don't need to craft. You don't need to get tools. You don't need nothing. Don't need to level up even 1 point. Zero skill build with alchemy. This is funny. Right. This is where I kind of probably shouldn't do it on a goblin. Because I don't want... No, what? Okay. Very cryptic names. Oh, I've made myself a mage. That wasn't the plan. Whatever, who cares? Imagine thinking that's worth the time. Well, yeah, the Vial of the Sands recipe is clearly not worth the time getting, but, you know, it's one of those sort of, like, I don't know, just hallmark things that pretty much all goblins go through at some point, don't they? It's a rite of passage, I suppose.
The winds guide you. Walk with the
Right, we're done. There's the alchemy one done. Done. No, it's going to be slightly different, this alchemy one, on the basis of that you basic build requires you to do nothing. The cauldron, I can't remember how many. I need to go and have a look, but I should probably grab some basics before we go over there in case I need them. What could I possibly ever maybe probably need before I run off? Let's get the knowledge point book for alchemy. Let's grab a bag of herbs. Bag of herbs. We'll do some bouquets so we get some Q1s. It was great until some moron decided to make a dozen YouTube videos about how he was going to give away a long boy a month off mount crafting, then never gave any away and the price never recovered, QQ. I think I know who you're referring to there. I'm not going to throw them under the bus like that, but yeah, sure. Yeah, crafting the Vial of the Sands is usually a tragic idea. But it's one of those. There's 80 or so realms in each region. You'll occasionally get a miracle. If you've got 80 of them crafted, which is an absolutely ludicrous thing to do. If you've crafted 80 Vial of the Sands and you have one listed on every single realm, and it's just part of your rotation of listing on every realm in the EU, then it is actually probably at that point worth, because you will slowly but surely get enough miracle sales to, over the space of about 4 years, probably cover the cost of it. But yeah, for 99.9% of people, it's probably not worth. Alchemy recipes hard to get. No, there's a cauldron system now, which is the cauldron is a deterministic way of choosing the recipe that you want. Sometimes they have some mini unlock requirements, such as craft X amount of something to unlock it. But what we also see is that that's an account-wide unlock. It's a warband feature, which is odd to see within professions, but we'll take it. Meaning that no, most of them are very easy. Where's the vial things? Probably going to need a handful of motes. So, realistically, with alchemy, we're gonna probably unlock one of two things, really, aren't we, with concentration? I mean, in theory, you could unlock any of the potions, any of the vials, but like any of the flasks. But you're probably gonna pick yourself a flask. I would assume one of three, really: Blood Knight, Magisters, or the Shattered Sun flask. Haste, Mastery, Crit. So yeah, you're just gonna pick a flask. You're going to pick a flask and then you're going to roll with it. The difficulty for me, I see long term when it comes to concentration, is there is an absolutely distinct lack of materials that go into making these because of this bad boy here. Moats are moats are the devil when it comes to profit with concentration builds, by the way, because they don't have quality on them. They take for Midnight, they have taken away standard materials that had quality on them, and they've replaced them with moats, which don't have quality on them, which means there's, you know, just a flat default less profit to be had with concentration across the board. You're only winning on the value of, what's that, 14 herbs? That's your only profit margin. And when you might only get 4 flasks, might only get 4 flasks from your concentration, or 2 presses of the button, there's not going to be humongous money in it. But the fact that you can get this recipe like instantly by doing basically nothing, if you spin up a bunch of alchemists in season 1 with like basically 0 cost, I mean, what's the worst that could happen, right? Is mass producing alchemy just dead with the quality change in concentration armies? No, because the profitability in concentration, we might, and this is just a bit of a weird maths problem, we might actually see a scenario where mass producers can produce things cheaper than concentration crafters. because concentration builds aren't going to have the multi-crafter, the resourcefulness, all of the tools, all of the stats that you can get. And their profit margin is going to be so skinny because the only profit on this is the saving from 14 herbs. So let's say there's a 10 gold difference between each herb, normal quality to high quality. That's 140 gold per press of the button. Now, if Moats and Nocturnal Lotus end up being expensive enough, then the resourcefulness and the multi-craft procs by the mass crafters could actually push the crafting cost of mass crafting down below what concentration crafters are going to be able to achieve. So this is my point. I've throughout the entirety of the alpha, throughout the entirety of the beta, I've been trying to find different ways to describe to people why I don't really think concentration is going to be that great. But I'm just giving people what they want to hear for the most part here. People want concentration builds, we'll give them concentration builds. If they end up crashing and burning, it won't so much be an I told you so, but it's an event. I see it as an eventuality anyway, because of just how Midnight's been constructed. But at least it will be something that people can jump onto in Season 1. If it's dead by Season 2, I wish you the best of success in Season 1. But it's likely to be dead by Season 2. With the epic set of profession tools and accessories, a max build is actually going to have some pretty spicy stats here, which compared to a concentration crafter that has no stats, might actually outpace the savings. It's kind of weird how it will happen, and it's not intuitive to a lot of people, but there is actually the probability that mass producing stuff will ultimately be cheaper than using concentration. Because mass crafters are going to have significantly more benefit from these stats on the right here. This is on the assumption, and it's a relatively safe assumption from what I and many other people that I trust the opinion of have seen on the beta, and is that gathering materials at high quality is substantially easier than what it was getting quality 3 materials in the War Within. A min-maxed gatherer, for example, is likely to see probably 50-50 normal to high-quality materials, Whereas in the War Within, you had to be tippity top and you were basically getting 20% quality 3, which always kept mass crafting quite expensive and always meant that there was some room for concentration to work. But if there's a significantly higher influx of high quality materials via herbing, mining, gathering in general, added on to the fact that some of the key components don't have quality in the first place, these are all things that do not work in concentration's favor. But alchemy's advantage is you basically, concentration crafters will at least they'll be spread out, right? At least they'll be spread out. There's 3 different flasks. You can pick and choose which flask. You might, if you're going to have 10 alchemists, put, you know, a bunch of them on one flask, a bunch of them on another, a bunch of them on another. Spread the love a little bit so that not one single market completely tanks. This is kind of the scenario where for concentration, it's actually slightly beneficial that there's not like the chaos flask. There's not like the one flask that everybody cares about. The flasks people use is whichever the secondary stat most benefits them. Now, that probably won't be an even distribution, because I tend to feel that haste is the most important stat at the beginning. So I do kind of feel the Blood Knight flask will be the most sought-after one. But it's also likely to be the most expensive one, because motes of wild magic are a pain in the ass to farm. I have my suspicions already that this could be the more expensive of the mote. But once again, I'm not really convinced there's going to be a huge difference in value between all of the motes either. Especially because alchemists can switch and change them about. And Mantheus just future crashed the Blood Knight flask market. You're welcome. You're welcome. There's also the possibility that the price delta between low and high quality mats is higher than you expect, especially at the beginning. See, this is the point, right? This is the point. Like, when I talk about how I feel the professions are going to go, I'm talking throughout the expansion. There's no point me talking so vividly about what might happen in week 1, because then everybody makes decisions based on what might happen week 1, and they could be fucked for the other however many weeks of the expansion. Yes, there will be profit in everything season 1. Of course there will. You know, you have to be some sort of idiot to not find profit in the first couple of weeks of an expansion launch. But the long tail is that the price difference between normal and high quality materials, I do not expect to be very, very high. Certainly not as high as what we've expected or seen or got used to seeing in the War Within. Quality 3 material, Q3 mats in the War Within, not only did they take sufficiently longer for herbalists and miners to get to the point where they got them consistently, there was also no real way to manufacture them outside of just straight up farming them. The Thaumaturgy through alchemy meant that most quality 2 materials held at a sort of relatively fixed price. And if one got too expensive or one got too cheap, then alchemists leveled everything back out again. This kept quality 2, and not to mention that you could, you know, alchemists could take quality 1 materials and turn them into quality 2 once they were fully spec'd in Thaumaturgy as well. So this basically meant that the price of quality 2 was always driven to a certain point, and with no ability to magically produce quality 3, quality 3 always ended up being that quite a lot higher in value. And that the downward pressure on quality 1 and quality 2 materials, especially considering skinning was the predominant way to get all materials, because you could get thousands of leather per hour which then could be converted into everything else with alchemy via thaumaturgy. So there was less need for people to actually go out and do herbalism and go out and do mining to get the quality 3 stuff in the first place. There was weird periods in time where herbing and mining in the War Within were like actually tragically low gold per hour. We're talking like sub 5,000 gold an hour, just because quality 1 and quality 2 herbs were, you know, and ore was kept so cheap, but you never were able to get enough of the quality 3 stuff to make it really pump the value of your time spent farming it. So there was big sections in the War Within where people didn't do herbing and mining, really. All materials were generated through skinning and then converted from skinning to everything else. It was a wonderful scenario for crafters because it meant that, you know, your materials were relatively stable and there was always plenty of them. But it was basically horrible for farmers because you either do skinning and make a bit of gold with skinning, or you were kind of a bit scuffed on the others, right? Herbalism and mining was not very profitable for large periods of time. Yeah, rank 3 herbs in the War Within were sometimes pretty expensive. They certainly were, but that's not a scenario that I foresee happening in Midnight. Excluding maybe the first week when everything is chaos, you know? Will double resourcefulness ever overtake double multicraft? No, it's just not physically possible. No. Think about how those 2 stats actually function. Multicraft creates entire new things, right? If a multicraft proc hits, you get entirely complete new stuff. Resourcefulness will only ever at best give you a percentage of one thing back. They're so far imbalanced. It's you know, the only way that multicraft would ever be overtaken by resourcefulness is, let's say that you could only ever get like a 10% multicraft chance, but you could get an 80% resourcefulness chance. So you were saving materials so goddamn frequently, but you were so infrequently getting the multicraft procs. But it's never ever been balanced in that way. So multicraft is always king. Always king. If it can multicraft, stack multicraft, because it literally generates entirely new, complete free things for you. Most powerful crafting stat in the game, multicraft. Probably why enchants can't multicraft. What do I need then to take over to the cauldron to have a little bit of a look at the cauldron? I don't know. If we need to make a return trip, we make a return trip. I'm going to need to come back to get some gear and stuff for the advanced build anyway. Let's slap one of you down there. If mass crafting will be as lucrative as you mention, then won't it have the same balancing effect as thaumaturgy had? Well, no, not really, because look at cloth, for example. Consider cloth. There was so few ways to actually conveniently gather cloth in the War Within. And it's actually quite scary looking at the Midnight landscape right now. People have been running through follower dungeons, desperately trying to find a cloth farm. And unless people are keeping them really secretive, there's not that many good options out there for farming cloth. In the War Within, it didn't matter so much that cloth farming was generally pretty tragic, because skinning did all of the work for them. You didn't need to worry about farming cloth because skinners get humongous amounts of leather, and then the alchemists turn that leather into cloth. Job done. it was a relatively unique scenario that we've never really seen before, where we've been able to like so readily convert one material into another. But it was great for stabilization of prices, which is kind of what you want in the crafting markets for the most part. You want your materials to be relatively stable in price, so that there's not like humongous risk in buying a bunch of materials to craft a bunch of things. Mass crafting is going to require all high quality materials, and it's as profitable. What you don't want to see for mass crafting is you don't want to see concentration having so much profit margin that everybody funnels towards that thing. Enchants, look, mass crafting enchants in the War Within has been a challenge, to put it nicely. Mass crafting enchants in the War Within has been very, very challenging because crafting them with concentration is so lucrative, meaning that concentration crafters come along in their masses and produce large quantities of them, enough to meet the demand of the market in most cases. And because they have such competitive crafting prices, they can bring the crafting price down to below what your mass crafting price is, because you had to use the higher quality materials to press the button in the first place. Your material cost was like double to begin with. And because your crafting cost was doubled to begin with, even with your resourcefulness and even with your multi-craft procs, which you don't get, by the way, on enchants, you only get resourcefulness procs. When your crafting cost to mass produce was twice as high to begin with, no amount of resourcefulness could bring it down far enough for you to really compete with the concentration crafters. Alchemy is a different story, though, because multi-craft exists. Mass producing stuff with alchemy could actually outpace and undercut even concentration crafted flasks and potions. Because yes, you're going to have a higher material cost up front, but your stats are going to be high enough that it should bring it down far enough. You might actually surpass the crafting cost of concentration alts. It's kind of weird how it works, but it all lies in the power of the multi-craft. Sounds like markets can crash really fast after a few weeks. The absolute best scenario, the best possible scenario for crafters, is that I and many other people have got it all terribly wrong, and that by the time the game goes live, gathering high quality materials is nearly impossible. If gathering high quality material, the harder they make gathering high quality materials, the better it is for crafting, because that guarantees the price difference to be as steep as possible. Which opens the door nice and wide for concentration to come in and bridge that gap and make a whole bunch of gold. But the easier they make gathering high quality materials, the more of them that will exist, the easier they'll be generated, the lower in value they will be, meaning your margins with crafting become very skinny, very skinny. This is the where are we? This is the cauldron. This is the alchemy cauldron, which is where you research and choose your recipe. Now, as you can see, even with 0 skill or nothing in here, we can come to the cauldron and we can unlock stuff. Unlocking stuff is going to require some stabilized derivate. It's going to require a nocturnal lotus, and it's going to require some moxie. Lotus, buy it off the auction house. This, you're presumably if you're going to set up a concentration alchemist, you're going to have an alchemist that is your main alchemist that you play alchemy properly with. That alchemist that you play properly with can create you your stabilized derivate. Oh no, it's bind on pickup. It's not even warbound now. Interesting. Oh, okay, so you are going to have to generate some of this. That's cool. That's as simple as buy a few potions and break them down then. Alright, ignore me. The Moxie, though. The Moxie is something you're going to have to get. Although, I have it on reasonable... I have been informed that the goodie bag that we get for free, we come over here and you get to pick a goodie bag. In fact, let's just see, shall we? Let's just do exactly this. It may or may not have been implemented yet, but this little goodie bag, you don't meet the what? Okay. Picking up the herb bag here.
Eternal sun guides us. Remember the sun well.
Bag of herbs. Okay, it doesn't contain Moxie currently, but it did give me some Argent Leaf, some Mana Lily, and some Tranquility Bloom, all at quality 1. There is a strong possibility that this will give you some Moxie for free. If it gives you Moxie for free, you don't actually need to mess around doing anything with your concentration alchemists, because you take that Moxie, you get some stabilized derivate, which comes from just recycling some potions or flasks, which you'll just buy some cheap potions or flasks, or even craft them yourselves if you really want to. Maybe you take this free Tranquility Bloom that you get, make yourself some flasks, break it down.
May my goods serve you well.
We can do exactly that. Take some of those free herbs you get from the goodie bag. Break those down. We need the heartwood oils.
My goods are one of a kind. Treat my wares with care.
With perseverance, strength.
Yeah. Need to pick up that quest. Go away. Oh, then we then we get the weekly quest. Interesting. Yeah, sure. Recycle these. Okay, we get 1, 2, 3, 4. God damn you, son of a bitch.
My goods are one of a kind.
Return when you need more.
Now, in theory, you're not going to need to do this on all your alchemists, because you just, like I said, you prep for all of this, either by buying health potions or crafting them on your main alchemist dude, the dude that, you know, does alchemy properly. You'll just need to recycle a few of them in order to get your 5 derivate, which you can then spend in here to get your flask of choice. Now, assuming we don't get any Moxie for free, we are going to need 50 Moxie in order to be able to do this, but we should be able to do this by getting some first-time craft bonuses with alchemy if we really want to. Or, the better still, you fly around and you pick up your knowledge points. You pick up your treasures, for example. No, get off the bench. Pick up the treasure. You pick up your treasures, you learn those, and then that's going to give you your Moxie. You fly around and pick up a couple of treasures, you'll have your 50 Moxie. I need 2 more treasures. 2 more treasures. Wow, if only there was a Discord somewhere that showed me exactly where all the treasures are. Alchemy. 1 in Silvermoon. The freshly plucked Peace Bloom is also in Silvermoon. Hang on, let me just borrow this quick. We have Tom Tom. Oh, that one's going to screw it up. Why does that not work anymore? Why does that not work anymore? Does T-Way not work anymore? Does it have to be just waypoints now? Why is TomTom not working? Hello? What's going on here? Oh. There's my arrow. Okay, weird. One over here, look. Oh, TomTom's also not linking me to the most closest one. Why is TomTom being stupid all of a sudden? Am I going to have to put them in a neat and tidy order so that they're not stupid? Weird, okay. There's the freshly plucked peace bloom. We've got the pristine one. Quick flight over to Zulaman gets the third one. TomTom being dum-dum, yeah. TomTom being dum-dum. Okay. We want to have to do that just for the sake of the video. Is it quicker to get the ones in? Let's also maybe assume that people might not have access to these zones just yet as well. Whoa! Why so loud? The area ahead is dangerous. Turn back. Ah! Yeah, of course. We're on the leveling realms, aren't we? We're not allowed in the zones on these realms. Whoops, I forgot. Oh, and it's put me back here. Okay, well, the point still stands. You go pick up some of your treasures, GG. Or you do some first-time crafts, it doesn't matter. We're not allowed out of Silver Moon, are we? Drop rates of materials and rarity of materials from beta are not indicative of launch rates. This is the first beta I'm not spending literally hundreds of hours testing gathering. I wouldn't be too worried about materials yet. There is definitely an illusion on the beta. Illusion of grandeur. What I mean by that is that often people who test gathering on betas, PTRs, that sort of thing, end up getting substantially more materials than what they get. It's not the chance of getting materials that is any different, it's the rate of materials which you can get. When the servers go live, obviously every man and their dog is flying around picking up all of this stuff, especially at the beginning. And so you don't come across as many nodes or anything, right? Unless you're doing weird shenanigans to put yourself on low population shards and stuff. You basically are competing with other people all the time over the nodes. Which means your hourly yield is usually quite poor at the beginning because everybody's trying to do it. On the betas, on the PTRs, literally nobody, and I mean absolutely nobody, is out there gathering. So most of the time, all of the spawns are up, and you just fly around and you go boom, 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 and you can pick up humongous amounts of materials really quickly, which just doesn't happen when the game goes live. They quite literally make more nodes spawn on the beta for testers. I don't believe they do. But we'll agree to disagree on that one. Anyway, once you've flown around, once you've got your few treasures, once you've got your Moxie, assuming you don't get any Moxie for free, you can just come and buy one of these. Which is easy business. Becomes easy business. Pick your flask of choice and off you go. Your other alternative is you got obviously your potions. Basically anything on this list is concentration bait. But once again, like we mentioned, potentially only short term, potentially only until top skilled alchemists get their shit together and can act like there's a strong possibility the day will come where top skilled alchemists will be able to undercut even concentration alts. Light's potential is a strong candidate for just being the potion that people navigate to. Tranquility Bloom, Argent Leaf, and Azroot. This is the one that doesn't get milled by scribes. Is used in its raw form. "2019 spent an hour at BlizzCon in the Hilton talking to a profession dev. Confirmed they spawn more on beta specifically because less people do it." Cool. I mean, it still sort of proves a point that what you see on the beta, what you see on the PTR is not really indicative of how it works when it goes live. But that's only a quantity situation. That's how many nodes there are. That's more focusing on the yield. The yield is ultimately not a problem. It's because enough farmers, enough time, there'll be enough materials. It's the rate in which you get the higher quality stuff, which is not something that they're going to just buff for the beta and then nerf when it goes live. Really, that's the kind of stuff they're actually trying to dial in on the beta. And I wonder if there's no, where's the multi-craft node in here? Wait, what? Why the flipping hell is all of this? Wait, hang on. Who? What? Who's stolen me multi-craft nodes? Have they put the multi-craft in the trees with the thing? Have they not allowed you to stack multi-craft with... Ah, here we go. Cheeky. Cheeky. Flask abundance, there we go. Oh, so they've hidden the multi-craft all the way back here. Okay, that does mean that you can, in theory, your absolutely rock bottom basic 0 skill build exists. But you're very quickly going to want at least 25 skill to unlock this, which then what's it going to require in terms of knowledge points? Uh, 10 points in the base node. 10 points in the second node. With 40 points. 40 gets you all the way down here. $25 skill, 40 knowledge points. What you really need. Okay. Wait, hang on. Let's just copy this. Borrow this. It's literally in any it's literally in any recipe conc build. Stack multi-craft, need probably 25 skill. Cost to set up is going to be pretty low. Why are these 4, 5, and 6 all of a sudden? Hello? Last time I checked the beta, the quick hands flask was still working. Can you confirm it's still the case? I haven't checked. I haven't checked. It's one of those. If it works, great. If it doesn't, it doesn't. I haven't copied over a character that's got them or tried to craft them to double check. You probably know more than I do on that one. Need that speed for my concentration crafters. Yeah, you need to press. You need to craft those 3 items really quick. Really quick. I wonder if an absolutely day 1-0 build is even worth talking about with alchemy. In fairness, because it's going to be so hyper restricted. Please tell me there isn't a special crafting table at the end of a dungeon like there was in Dragonflight. No, there isn't. No, there isn't. All the crafting tables are in the main city. I do wish we'd get away from this stupid need for crafting tables, though. I really do wish, you know, that they'd just let us craft our shit from wherever we are. I mean, it pushes every crafter into the city, which is also probably where you're likely to hang out a lot of the time to grab orders and stuff anyway, but still a frustration that you can't just, oh, I need to craft this quickly. Oh, I've got to go back to the main city to do it. It's like, quick TLDR on the moat shuffling is that your transmutations here currently don't have a cooldown. They don't have a cooldown. They're subject to resourcefulness and multicraft. You take 10 of one moat and turn it into 8 of another, which sounds fine, but by the time you stack enough resourcefulness and multicraft, you actually turn 10 into like an average of 12. Which is problematic when these also don't have a cooldown. So there's yeah. Expect that to change, though. If it doesn't change, the economy is going to be completely busted at the beginning of the expansion. Now, obviously, these don't totally 100% Light only goes into magic. Magic goes into void. Void goes into energy. Energy goes back into light. So it's kind of circular. But it's kind of odd, the fact that these don't have a cooldown. I expect these to be given a cooldown. Like I said, there's a worrying problem that if they don't give a cooldown, you can almost mass produce moats out of basically thin air. I tried with 31% multicraft, 500 light moats turned into almost 600 wild. And there's 10% more multicraft to get there. Yeah, exactly, yeah. You actually start to be able to generate moats out of thin air. I think the concept of these is meant to be that if one moat ends up being cheaper than another, you can, like, you know, you can do it in a quantified amount. The TLDRs, they need a cooldown. The system is fine. The system's fine. They just need a cooldown put on them. This should be another one of those, like, once a day, or stack it to 10, or stack it to summon. Oh, I've not got the Spotify thing on. I don't have a song command in chat because I usually have the music playing here. I just didn't have it switched on, sorry. Hard to factor in the price of the derivate. I can't imagine it will be much. As it's the same scenario as what we've been used to seeing before. When you are recycling, when you're there'll be an abundance of something, and people assume it's this Armani extract one. You'll be able to produce this stuff relatively easily. It was never a problem getting it in the War Within. I mean, you know, it's literally vendor materials. Weirdly, it has like no materials on it. So this is what's a single sunglass vial right now?
Are you planning a purchase?
2 gold, 75, and you need 5 of them. So like 12 gold. 12 gold for... Where's it gone? Cost of 12 gold to make 5 of these. You crush down... Is it 3 at a time? So yeah, it's the derivate stuff's not going to be very expensive at all. Certainly not relative to the price of the moats anyway. What tune was it before this? Oh, honestly, I've got no idea. My playlist's on shuffle. Sorry. Anyway, distraction. We were looking at concentration. How many did we say? 10, 20, 40 points. Well, that's easy enough to do by flying around, picking up your treasures, and doing your knowledge point book. That will give you the most amount of multi-craft, but you do need to get to skill 25. Yeah, I'm not... I think that without... Yeah, even though it is technically physically possible to have an absolute 0 build, I'm not sure it's something that's really worth promoting all that much. It's it's really flipping easy if you get a bunch of Moxie from that profession bag. Because the toon turns up, gets the bag of herbs for free, uses those herbs to craft a few to get your derivates. You get the moxie from the bag as well. You go straight to the cauldron. You get your recipe of choice with your lotus that you've already bought and thrown in your war bank. And then you're literally off to the races before, you know. I mean, some of these recipes don't even require moxie. Unlock. Oh, is it just the basic mana potion? Transform discarded fish into a school of gems. I need to test these out a little bit. Where's the recipe for school of gems? I can't possibly imagine that that's ever going to be profitable. You know how sometimes you just see a recipe and you're like, yeah, that's never getting used. This is one of them. This is one of them. I don't think there's ever going to be a day in history where people will craft these for a profit. I can't see that happening in a month of Sundays. The likelihood of people spending enough time fishing to push the price of these fish below what the price of the gems that it spits out will be non-existent. But I should probably spreadsheet this shit. We should probably craft 1,000 of these and just see what the material input and the product output looks like. Just so we've got some idea. Even though I know that that one, this especially, is not happening. Box of rocks. Maybe. But the fact it uses the rare leather, which will have plenty of uses in Season 1. But Season 2, Season 3, we'll have to see what happens, but... Even the herb ones, I don't see much use out of these. Maybe with the use of concentration, these transmutations might have some value. But let's assume you put normal quality dust and shards in to get a splattering of herbs out. And I would also point out, even pushing them to, even using concentration to guarantee these at high quality doesn't mean you get high quality herbs out of the bouquets. So this is real gamba on your concentration over here. This is a daily cooldown. Is there a way to stack more of those? Out of curiosity. My theory here is that the long-term play for concentration with alchemy could be better suited towards the transmutations, not so much like flasks and shit. Because like I mentioned earlier, I have a sneaky suspicion that there's enough stats on offer now that top tier crafters of flasks and potions might actually be able to undercut concentration crafters anyway. Learn the box of rocks. Subspec, subspec. Wondrous Synergist. Recharges quicker. An additional charge. Recharges quicker. 2 additional charges. So this ends up fitting nicely into... It's a once per day job, but it still looks like by the time you spec this out, it fits nicely into that concentration alt every 4 days rotation. Brit Bong Gamer. I have no idea what that means. No idea what that means. Acid, how we doing, welcome in. This might have more value for a concentration build, honestly. Can you ever get the concentration down below 250? I bet you can't. You'd need to get the concentration down below 250 for you to actually be able to consume all your charges. Hmm. 2, 4, 6, 8. Still only 10 flipping herbs, though. These are still ludicrously cheap. 10 herbs in total to make a daily cooldown item. Let me look at my full build alchemist a second. Am I hyped for Midnight Gaming? I like expansion launches. There is literally nothing better than an expansion launch. In my scenario, it's for 2 reasons. One, I get to actually see how everything plays out that I've been, like, you know, exploring and trying to figure out for usually months prior to actually coming out. So there's the, you know, even the aspect of just sitting back and watching what happens is kind of fun. Secondly, it's, you know, new shit to go play with. What's not to like? Oh, my alchemist hasn't got tools. Why has my alchemist not got tools? Why did I never get tools on my alchemist? There must be a reason why I didn't do that. It doesn't look like you're ever going to be able to get concentration down below 250 anyway. An extra 40 skill up here is not going to make a blind bit of difference, is it? So you're never actually going to be able to get to the point where you can consume all of your cooldowns with concentration, because you won't actually regenerate concentration fast enough. But it does still kind of mean you'll be able to log on every 4 days on a concentration alt and at least consume some of your crafts with concentration here, assuming that the value of 10 herbs is worth pressing the button still. It's another one of those. There'll be some saving to be made, but how much is that saving going to be? How many people are really going to need Wondrous Synergists at high quality anyway? It's just for the cauldrons, isn't it? Yeah. can't be the only one that thinks the cauldrons are outrageously cheap. I haven't lost the plot here, have I? Cauldrons look outrageously cheap. You can get 40 flasks out of a cauldron. They're warbound, also remember that. Oh yeah. I'm not suggesting people would craft these themselves. I'm just saying the value proposition of a cauldron is crazy good now. Like, your guilds, your raiding teams should be using... There's no excuse for them not to be using cauldrons. Which takes off a lot of the demand of people turning up with their own flasks and potions. Because these are mental cheap. And a high quality one gives you 80 charges. Oh no, wait, what? What's the difference? Wait, hang on. Cauldron lasts 5 minutes, has 80 charges. Cauldron lasts for 5 minutes, has 80 charges. What the flipping hell's the difference between the high quality and the normal quality one? Hello? Wait. Gives you high, low quality potions. Probably the quality of what comes out of it. Normal quality. High quality. Oh, fucking hell, Blizzards. Where can I use this then? Why can't I use this here? Do I have to be in a flipping instance or something to use it? Oh, Christ. I can't do that on these realms, can I? Can't use that here. Fuck off, game. Okay, well, I've apparently no easy way to see what comes from these flipping cauldrons. Oh, I'll disconnect. That's fun. Now, obviously, even if the cauldrons end up being really good value for organized raid teams, that doesn't change the fact that most people are not in an organized raid team. You know, the pug community will still be buying your potions and flasks at like outrageous in outrageous quantities. There's no... Oh, am I just locked in here now? Yeah, we will take the assumption that a normal quality cauldron produces normal quality stuff. But we'll assume that that's the difference. But the fact that, like, basically nothing goes into making these. 4 Wondrous Synergists. Which, sure, yeah, they're on a daily cooldown. Which limits the supply of those. But they're not exactly expensive to begin with, are they? They take 10 herbs. The Wondrous Synergists aren't exactly expensive. Your Lotus is neither here nor there. This is neither here nor there. Petrified Root comes from Delves and so will be readily available. I mean, it takes 14 herbs to make 2 flasks. 7 herbs a flask. 7 herbs per flask. Via a cauldron. It takes 40 herbs to make 40 flasks. It's 1 herb per flask. If you do it via the cauldrons. Sure, you've got the cooldown on the Wondrous Synergist, but you buy these off the auction house anyway. You get 40 flasks out of 1 Nocturnal Lotus and 40 herbs. Compared to the flasks by themselves, which you get 1 Nocturnal Lotus gives you 2 flasks and 7. This is ridiculous. Why would any raid team use anything other than just cauldrons? There's absolutely no reason to use default flasks. They're going to be 10 times the price. Standard flasks are going to be an order of magnitude more expensive than using the cauldrons. How very weird. How very weird. Is there again a 60k vendor item to buy the actual cauldron? Not in current build. And the funny thing is you'll just have a few alchemists in the guild that will just use normal quality vials, normal quality Wondrous Synergists, and will just make these with concentration for like basically nothing. The cost of 40 normal herbs. Oh boy. Same in the War Within. Cauldrons only take a couple of the horticulture and the vendor item that you can then reuse. Is it similar enough that it probably doesn't make a difference? Are we living by the theory that there's so many people that are responsible for their own consumables that it still doesn't really matter? When can we expect the Midnight Guide to be available? Need to know how to prepare alts. Soon-ish. Soon-ish. Fresh my mind on these. Big Boy Cauldron. Catalysts, free. Once again, basically free. 8 Harmonious Horticulture. A single Harmonious Horticulture is 12, 24, 32 herbs, though. A single one is 32 herbs, not 10 herbs. And you need 8 of them. So these take 4 times this many herbs to produce, and you need twice the amount of them to make a cauldron. So if you think the cauldrons in the War Within were cheap, you ain't seen nothing yet. You need 8 of these. Eight times... I can't do that maths in my head. 288 herbs go into making a single cauldron. 288 herbs. I'm ignoring multicraft from the entire equation, just for simple napkin math numbers here. 288 herbs go into making 8 of these, which gives you 1 cauldron, one flask or potion cauldron. Compare that to Midnight, where you have, what did I say, 40? 4 Wondrous Synergists. Which... where have they gone? 4 Wondrous Synergists. Each Wondrous Synergist takes 2, 4, 6, 8, 10. Yeah, 40. 288 herbs to make a cauldron in the War Within. 40 to make a cauldron in Midnight. Ouch. That is a 6 times reduction in materials. Oh, I keep seeing this pattern all over the place. We saw this with jewel crafting, that gems take only a fraction of the materials that they did in the War Within. Oh, God. It's like somebody's just got a 0, you know, it feels like somebody's got a decimal point in the wrong place at Blizzard. Genuinely does. How can it make sense to go from needing nearly 300 herbs to produce a cauldron down to 40, and that be like, oh yeah, cool, that's right. Okay. Now, I mean, 6 of one, half a dozen of another. These things are on cooldown, but they're listed on the auction house, so they'll always exist, right? They'll always exist. There isn't going to be a significant markup on these because they were cooldown, let's put it that way. A guild could easily spin up a few alchemists to make these themselves, the fact that they're that goddamn easy to do, if they were that fussed. I mean, yeah, there is the flip side of it, I suppose, that it could massively spike the usage of cauldrons. But that then has the negative effect on the fact that if everybody expects somebody else to turn up with a cauldron, then people are going to be less inclined to turn up with their own. has a real negative effect on the regular flasks and potions and stuff. If it's intentional, it means a reduction of the prices, which means they want to push the price of the tokens down. There's a strong likelihood that all forms of consumables could end up being very, very cheap compared to what we've been used to, yes. Which would in turn mean the gold that you generate by playing the game, or in turn by buying tokens, in theory goes further. The further your gold goes, the less people have the need to buy tokens, the less people buy tokens. The less people buy tokens, though, the more expensive the tokens get. Because you need people to be incentivized to buy gold to actually keep the token price down. Which is why tokens go down at the beginning of an expansion. This is why aggressive deflation doesn't work. You need steady but small inflation. Because aggressive deflation causes everything to stop. It causes the economy to lock up. Doesn't seem so beneficial to Blizzard, no. I doubt it will spike the use of cauldrons. Cost was never really the issue. It's just that somebody has to take care of it. But yeah, I still feel that almost all crafting costs need a tuning pass. I mean, like I said, I wouldn't be too fussed by it if it was like something that used to take 10 materials now takes 7 or 8 materials. Like that, I could be just like, yeah, sure, fine, whatever. But we're not talking about like a percentage reduction. We're talking like a multiple. Like it's for most consumables I look at, to be needing an order of magnitude less materials is actually crazy. That's not just not balanced. That's just broken. Right? That's just can't possibly go live that way. These numbers need a 0 on the end of them. All these numbers could do with a 0 on the end of them. Same with jewel crafting, like we looked at, was it yesterday? We've gone from the War Within, where you needed like 6 raw gems plus 30 dust to make an actual cut gem, down to 1 raw gem and 5 dust to make a cut gem. Alchemy looks to be the same. That, I mean, the extreme example is making these cauldrons here. You've gone from nearly 300 raw herbs to make a cauldron in the War Within down to 40 herbs to make a cauldron without the big 60k vendor mat, regardless of whether you get it back or not. It's kind of like somebody understands the concept when you look at like the potions and stuff. You know, 8 standard herbs, 6 uncommon herbs, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14. 14 herbs. You have to remember, though, 14 herbs makes 5 potions. That, give or take, is the equivalent of about, you know, between 5 and 7 herbs. Yeah, you're looking at like 1 or 2 herbs to make a potion. The result of that is like 1 or 2 herbs go into making a potion. Hence why my theory still holds very strong that things like moats are going to be where like, this aspect of it is going to be considered basically free. And then the deterministic factor is going to be the price of these bad boys. Where's it gone? Tempered potion. 12, 20 herbs. 20 herbs to make a tempered potion. 20 herbs made 5 potions, but it only used a writhing sample, which we now know with hindsight to be, you know, relatively cheap. Motes, I believe, are going to be much higher in value than these things will be. But even if we assume a writhing sample and a mote is going to be used equally, which they're not, by the way. What did writhing samples go into? What did they go into otherwise? How do you spell writhing? I got it right the first time. Writhing samples, reagent 4. Okay, writhing samples were consumed in a similar-ish way. That's the motes. Remember, right now we can print motes. Well, yeah, right now we can print motes, yeah. If we take as granted the reduction of materials needed is intentional, thus the price of consumables being lower, what could a benefit for the game or Blizzard be? Because if they do it, they should have a reason, I guess. Well, the argument, like, the argument is that they, if you remember some of the interviews that Ian gave when Midnight was, you know, having its PR press release kind of era, one of the only things that was ever muttered about Professions is that they wanted things like consumables to be easier to produce. They wanted them to be easier to produce. They didn't really feel that people needed to go on a big, lengthy journey to make a potion, but they still understood that that journey meant something in terms of, like, crafting your endgame piece of gear, which is hence why they didn't really touch endgame gear crafting particularly. Still got five qualities. Still got the same sort of principles in place to deal with all of that. But all commodities, all consumable stuff, seems to have had this overarching approach of just make everything super easy to get. And what that's actually resulted in is not so much is it any easier to get anything, but it's going to absolutely nuke the value of all of it. Because what the devs that have come in and dealt with this have gone, what does, they've been given the mission of make stuff easier to get. So they deleted equality, deleted huge amounts of things like thaumaturgy and, blacksmithing buffs, and, they deleted some of the features and functionality of the professions, and they just reduced the amount of materials needed on everything. And they've put a big tick next to that and gone, yep, now it's more simple. Everything will be cheaper. Everything will be substantially cheaper. Or this doesn't happen, by the way, or things won't be any cheaper, but there'll be a drastically less need or even a fraction of the amount of farming to be done. And the reason I say that never happens is because what's the one thing in this game people always want? They always want gold, right? Farmers aren't just going to magically stop doing stuff because there's plenty of materials already. No, what happens is the price of the consumed items is dictated for by the demand on them. If nobody wants something, it doesn't matter what materials go into creating it, it ends up rock bottom prices. If nobody wants it, it ends up cheap. Or anybody that gets suckered into crafting it doesn't sell it, so they never craft it again. What ultimately happens is the end price of consumables dictates the price of the materials. So if we end up with potions, gems, enchants being quite literally a fraction of what they were in the War Within, that means the materials are also going to be worth a fraction because you need less of them to make the same amount of stuff. Add on top of the fact that we've quite definitely seen high quality materials be easier to achieve. Those things are very imbalanced. You can't have it like in an economy where everything is super duper mega easy to get at high quality and then everything ends up being super cheap. Very quickly, there becomes no reason for anybody to really bother doing it. And I'm desperately trying to look for things in the professions to disprove all of this and for something to stand out and go, no, Mantheus, you're wrong, right? I'm really desperately looking for something to go, oh, this is the thing I missed. Oh, it's all fine. It's perfect. But every time I look at a profession recently and I do a little bit of a comparison and I'm like, oh dear. More and more do I keep spotting things that make me feel like most forms of crafting are going to produce items incredibly cheaply. And we haven't even looked at like milling rates and stuff like that. I know we mentioned that inscription is still like hella busted. I haven't looked at any milling rates of and things like that yet, but you can't get away from the fact that you just quite simply need way less materials to craft things. What's up, puppies? What are you woofing? Somebody's outside cleaning their rugs in the snow. That's what it is. They're making a bunch of noise. Hey, Amlams, come here. Come here. Come here. Hello. Hi. Hi, puppies. Hi. When the price of something goes beyond a psychological barrier, people do not just buy it at all. I do agree. We've had we have for a couple of expansions, especially at the beginning. But then the thing is we always get this, right? We always get people complain that everything's too expensive at the beginning of an expansion. But nobody's ever willing to do anything about it. Like, what people don't, you know, what most people don't realize is if your enchants and your gems and your potions are far more expensive than you would like to pay for them, there's an absolutely prime opportunity for you to craft some of them, sell some of them, make a bunch of gold, and then if you make a bunch of gold really easily, then all of a sudden the shit you need to buy isn't as expensive anymore. But people don't do that. And then as the seasons go on, you know, markets saturate, prices come down. And more importantly, it's that need to buy things from everybody at the beginning of the expansion that drives people to buy more tokens that pushes the token down. Hey, stop the barking now. Relax. So what you're telling me is by month 2, I'm going to be back in the old expansions farming lumber. Month 2? Could be day 2 at this rate. Could be day 2. Okay, I got wildly off track with all of this. But that's how we do, isn't it? It's how we do. But yeah, it's a touch concerning. It's a touch concerning from somebody that, you know, enjoys tinkering with the professions. I'm not even out there expecting to make billions of gold with the professions particularly, but I just enjoy playing with them, you know? I want to be able to, and part of the enjoyment is that there is at least some value in doing it. Chosen, how we doing? Welcome in. Thank you very much for the raid. Welcome in Chosen's crew. Inscription is still kind of busted though. It's kind of all over the place. We're expecting to see some tweaks and some changes to this because your skill requirements for for milling and stuff are all over the shop. If they fix some of this, we can take a look at inscription in a little bit more detail. I haven't played with inscription on this build. I mean, it could just be, you know, a shift of focus. We've had for 2 expansions now practically the same outcome. It could just be a shift of focus. But I'm not convinced, is the TLDR. I mean, even the fundamentals in tailoring concerned me really early on. The fact that to make a bright linen bolt, you take 1 piece of linen and you add 4 pieces of vendor materials to it. And then you call it a bolt. Okay, so the only added value a tailor has done here is thrown some vendor mats at 1 single piece of cloth. Okay, sure. Which means by the time you stack up some resourcefulness, multicraft, and ingenuity, you know, your multicraft and resourcefulness will basically end up being that the price of 1 bolt will be less than the price of 1 single cloth. Then you have to take that bolt and you have to imbue it with apparently nothing. You take 2 of those bolts, which, as we mentioned, with a bit of resourcefulness and a bit of multicraft, will probably end up costing you less than 1 single piece of cloth. You take 2 bolts and you throw some more vendor reagents at it, and apparently that produces something that is then quality, you know, turns it rare. All you've done is smush a few vendor reagents on it. And an imbued bright linen bolt will probably be the equivalent price of maybe 2 pieces of cloth. It's like, did that really need 2 steps of processing to take 2 pieces of cloth and turn it into 2 imbued bright linen bolts? Which means things like these, although they're on a cooldown, yes, when you break it down to its core components, 5 rare pieces of cloth and 4 imbued bright linen bolts, which as we've already discussed is, you know, one of these is basically probably no more than the cost of 2 regular pieces of cloth. Meaning, what, like 10 pieces of cloth here, like add another 5 pieces of rare cloth, 15 pieces of cloth go into making 2 of your cool down bolts. But as I've tried to say a few times now, heavily being, you know, the percentage of value in the craft, if you were to put like the cost of 4 motes, your 4 motes at maybe 100 gold a piece is 400 gold. the value of the 15 pieces of cloth that go into it might not even be half of this value, meaning the lion's share of the cost of doing anything is determined by the price of the motes again. And for anybody that played through Dragonflight, that scenario will sound very, very, very familiar to you. Spell threads. Vendor mat. Shards will probably end up being nearly free because they come from delves. Still very, very heavy weighting. I still feel about 50% of this cost will come from the motes again. Which means your herbalists, your miners get paid twice. Your gatherers get paid twice. Gatherers get paid regardless of what's going on with crafting. I don't know. I'm getting too deep in the weeds with all of this, I think. The issue I have overall is with the current material tuning, I get a very strong suspicion that sure, things will start off nice and expensive because they always do, but I think the crash is going to be fast. I think the crash is going to be pretty violent. And I think the floor price for stuff, the eventual floor price when all markets saturate, is going to be very low. Very low. God bless decor, I suppose. So much fuckery happening with the old mats, some big resets. Oh, I bet, yeah. I mean, people will be doing all sorts of shenanigans with those. Fair play to them. Go get it. Have to sell to the vendor, more than likely. I don't think there's a scenario where we're going to get vendor shuffles again. Mostly because they are still consistently using large quantities of vendor materials on even the basic stuff. You know, your bright imbued bolts, right? This item is flipping more vendor materials than it is anything else. 2 pieces of dust, 2 imbued bright linen bolts, and as we've discussed, imbued bright linen bolts are predominantly silver leaf thread in the first place. Stack on more silver leaf thread. There's more flipping vendor mats that go into one of these than there is materials. This embroidery floss is your more expensive vendor reagent as well. But yeah, sell price like single gold a piece. Because of the item level squish, none of this is worth vendoring in any way, shape, or form. Whoa, hello, that's wrong. Keep that one quiet. Keep that one quiet, boys and girls. Courtly Helms hasn't had the vendor price squished. Keep that one to yourself. There's your cloth shuffle, boys and girls. Surely that won't go wider than the 100-odd people watching right now. Taunt it bug, surely. Don't know. Maybe. Prices of mats are going to get low fast. Won't farming be less profitable, and therefore less people will farm it, therefore less mats, and the price will go up again a bit? Just thinking out loud here. The price... That argument is yes. But that's unfortunately not how the economy tends to balance itself out. Because there is always somebody out there that's willing to work for less than you are. It just means that the going rate for farming gets very, very low, and most people look at it and complain that it's lower than where their threshold sits. But that doesn't mean there's ever really a shortage of people actually doing it. I mean, flipping, some people will be out there herbing and mining for... And the difference is, right, is your focus when gathering is going to be in a different area. This is why I think that when you're out there farming, you're doing herbalism and mining, you probably are not very smart. And this is guesstimation. Don't shoot the messenger if this ends up being wrong. But the likelihood is that you won't really care too much about the base materials. You'll be focusing on getting as many moats as you possibly can. The moats will be what makes you the money, because the moats will be the bottleneck. The moats will be being consumed in a high percentage in a lot of crafts. But moats, even though you can get quite a lot of moats, you still often get less moats than you get herbs. So you focus, people will be out there farming they'll be doing herbalism, they'll be doing mining, but their profit will come from the moats. It means the basic materials will stack up and up and up, in turn go down and down and down in price. The theory of people will do it less when the price gets less only works if you're only getting like one thing. But when you go out farming, you get a multitude of things. And so as long as one of the things you're getting still covers the cost of the time spent, people still do it. But that means you end up with a flood of the cheap shit that nobody wants. It's odd, because we didn't get much of that in the War Within, entirely because of thaumaturgy. This is why thaumaturgy was really good. Thaumaturgy meant that whenever a price of a base material got too cheap, it could be converted into the materials that were more expensive. And so it normalized everything. It balanced everything really nicely. You only have to go back to as far as Dragonflight, though. In Dragonflight, you remember that the basic herbs, the basic ore, got like, what was it, Ceravite ore? And I don't know what other herb was, but the basic herbs and stuff, Hockenbloom was like silver by the end of the expansion, like literally free because people still got them, but they were farming to get the awakened and the rousings. They were flying around looking for the special nodes to use their overload on, because that's what made the money. But they still got other stuff at the same time. But all that other stuff just stacked up and had nowhere to go. I'm pretty convinced we're going to see the same thing again this expansion. But, yeah, we'll see. I haven't got as long to play video games with you lot today. I've got some stuff I need to get done. So I'm going to call it there for today. I know it kind of feels like we didn't really get much done, but I was getting into alchemy and then went on a tangent. We got distracted by squirrels, but welcome to a Mantheus stream. Thanks all for sticking by. I appreciate it. We'll be jumping around the different professions, trying to figure stuff out. I don't have many more professions I want to look at from the concept of concentration. That's nearly sorted. I will probably start looking into what the masscraft kind of builds are. The more standardized builds. What's your prospecting build? What's your sort of like profession tool builds looking like? This sort of stuff. The more sort of maybe the more masscrafty sort of stuff. We'll have to say. Focusing on concentration is a very specific direction you go with the professions. But I've mostly got that covered and documented now, so we can move on from it. Shall we look at the giveaway thing tomorrow? I Are you logged in now? I can definitely do it now. If you're logged in now. You won, so I feel I should make the effort to get you your winnings. What's Journalator is really cool. I use Journalator more than TSM now for tracking stuff. Yeah, head to Ogrimmar. I'll come find you in Ogrimmar. I will come find you in Ogrimmar. Hand you over your winnings. My game will load. My game gonna load? Thinking about it. I know where you like to block my bank access with the dino. Okay, I can meet you there. Come on, game. Turned off all my add-ons so that hopefully this shit doesn't take forever to load. Clearly some add-ons that are like causing load times to be absolutely filthy. Oh, okay. Frames? Can we get some frames, please, game? Anybody for frames? TSM is one of them. Yeah, I know. I can't get around that one, unfortunately. Much as I'd love to. Do I have you on BattleNet, cheerleader, or send me an invite? Oh, I do have you. There we are. There we are. We also had this thought that maybe the winner of the giveaway should sit out the next one. No, nobody gets nobody should be punished for being lucky. Congratulations on winning your big monies. Top prize. Top prize. Boom. Boom. What an expensive stream it's been. Spectral Tiger? No. Did anybody see there was a Spectral Tiger for like 10k or something sold not too long ago? Somebody clearly accidentally listed that. Right. Boys and girls, I am going to leave it there for today. Thank you very much for joining. Come say hi over on the Discord if you're not there already. Of course, in the run-up to Midnight's launch, the chatter over on the Discord is very Midnight goal-making focused. Come say hi. Go check out the 24/7 channel if you haven't already. It is a constant stream of my past VODs if you just can't get enough of my wonderful face and voice. If you've had enough, sit that one out. It's up to you. Thank you all for joining. It's reset day tomorrow. There's not anything actually big happening tomorrow, is there? It's reset day, but we've had pre-patch, we've had the event, all of that sort of stuff. So we're actually in chill mode for the most part. But Spectral Tiger now has a 10k DB region sale average. It probably does, yeah. It probably does. That would be quite funny. Anyway, thank you. Enjoy the rest of your day. I will catch you all next time. Peace.